Hello and welcome to Mellow Labs. On today's episode, we're making a robot that throws cheese whenever I say yeet. Brought to you by Patreon. So here's my idea, right? We have our slices of cheese, and I want them to be like stacked on top of each other, so kind of like a cheese magazine. And I'm gonna have a spinning wheel here that will like be connected to a motor, which will like spin up, which will like be the thing that like throws the cheese. But I need something to like push the cheese out, so I'm thinking I'll put a servo behind like the slice of cheese over here, which will like push it out just enough to like be grabbed by this wheel and be flung. And then obviously that will be all connected to like a microcontroller, which will be connected to the deaf robot voice recognition thing. And I'm gonna program it to throw cheese at me whenever I say yeet. Why am I doing this? Because I like ham and cheese sandwiches, and this was an excuse to use the voice recognition sensor. Over to CAD. Right, so I designed and printed. This is version 1 of the cheese throwing machine, and it doesn't quite work as well as I thought it would. Let me demonstrate. The way it should work is the cheese goes in here, then the servo pushes it onto the spinning wheel, which then pulls it out and yeets it, right? In reality, it's not that simple. Let me put the cheese in here. Let me connect the servo to a servo tester. So when I twist this, it moves the servo and it moves the cheese forwards, which kind of works, except it usually goes underneath the cheese. And even when it doesn't push it far enough, so the motor doesn't engage with the cheese. Problem number 2, connect the front motor. So now the motor's live. It just does that. Which, yeah, not great. And no, I can't do a lot with it. I have like one clip of this working as well as I intended, but it's really just gonna have to go back to the drawing board. Let's go to the drawing board. So I think the problem lies in the fact that when the cheese is pressed against the top thing, I think it's just too much pressure for the motor to push it through. I could replace it with like a geared motor that has more torque, but then I won't have the speed. So what I'm thinking instead is replace the top thing, replace it with a roller that will push the cheese down, but also not cause too much drag, so we can still throw the cheese. And to deal with the servo issue, I'm just gonna figure that out when I'm designing it in CAD, because at the time of recording, I have no idea. Back to CAD. So here's version 2. Let's go over the updates. First of all, I've got a roller like we discussed. I've also put some rubber rings on it. I think they're meant to be like washers, but they just call them rubber rings on Amazon. I've got a new front wheel. Again, I've put rubber rings on it. And for the pushing cheese mechanism, instead of using a servo at the back, I decided to go with a servo motor at the bottom that's gonna like push it forwards. I did have rubber rings on it, but it doesn't work very well with the rubber rings. So instead, I put some double-sided sticky tape on it, and that works a little bit better. So clearly, it still needs a little bit more development, but we have a standalone cheese throwing machine. When it's individual slices of cheese, it works fine. When I start adding more slices, we start having problems. Like that. It tries to shove all the cheeses in all at the same time. I'm hoping that I can add a little barrier here that will only let in one cheese at a time. I guess I just have to try it, really. So it doesn't work. I've been trying to get this to work, but I'm out of time that I can allocate to this project. This video needs to come out tomorrow, and it don't work. It just don't. Let me demonstrate. See, if I hit go, it just does that, and I can't do anything about it. It like it it moves fine through here, but for some reason it just doesn't want to come out at speed, and I don't. This was meant to be a short project because I've got a lot going on in my life right now. This was meant to be like a short thing, like haha, look, it throw cheese. But for some reason, throwing cheese takes up more engineering time than I expected. So maybe I'll come back to this in the future. But I feel like this is a bit of a lackluster episode. Or I could put an educational spin on it and tell you that not all projects will end up being successes. This is one of them. With that said, thank you very much for watching. There are a lot of cool stuff coming relatively soon, but there's a lot of stuff I'm dealing with at the moment. So until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and goodbye. A very slow slide out of frame today.